Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? Absolutely, always ready to jump back into history. Well, today we're heading back to ancient Greece. Back to the Greeks. But this time, we're trading our togas for armor. Oh, and getting a little more, let's say, strategic. Sounds intriguing. Remember our last deep dive about Aristotle? Of course, the philosopher, the scientist, the guy Stephen Hawking called the foundation of Western civilization. Yeah, amazing how influential he was, and, some of his ideas will a little outdated, you could say. 5 elements in their movements. Yes, has come a long way. Definitely. But today, we're shifting focus. Okay, less stargazing, right? More ground shaking. Literally, we're talking about Philip II. Philip II, Alexander the Great's father. Often overshadowed by his son, but a military innovator in his own right. Absolutely, Philip II shaped the course of history. So, for all our listeners out there who love epic battles and strategic brilliance, what's the Philip II 101 we need to know? Well, imagine the ancient Greek world. Okay, a bunch of city-states. Right, always vying for power. Philip II, he saw an opportunity to unite them. Exactly, not through diplomacy, but through military might. You got it. And he had a secret weapon. What, a secret weapon? I'm intrigued. A revamped Macedonian army, unlike anything Greece had ever seen. Ooh, so what made him so special? Just bitter, tougher. It wasn't just size, it was innovation. Okay, tell me more. Philip II introduced the sarissa. The what? A spear so long it dwarfed anything the Greeks were using. Whoa, hold on, how long are we talking? Imagine a wall of spears, near 20 feet long, 20 feet, wielded by a disciplined phalanx formation. No wonder they were unstoppable. It was a game changer. And wasn't just the weapons, so tactics too, absolutely. Philip II understood combined arms warfare. Combined arms? With that, he used cavalry, archers, light infantry, all supporting his phalanx. Exactly. Made his army incredibly adaptable, flexible. He was like a military chess master. That's a good way to put it. And this all came together at the Battle of Chaeronea. Chaeronea 338 BC. Right, a clash of titans. Philip II's Macedonians against the Greeks fighting for their independence. Athens, Thebes. The stakes were high. And in this battle, there's a story that always gets me. The Theban sacred band. Oh, yes! The sacred band, amazing! 300 warriors. Bound by love and loyalty, they fought to the death. So inspiring, but also just tragic. It's a story that captures the human side of war. He tells more about the sacred band, they were an elite unit. Paired lovers. Their bond was believed to make them stronger. Interesting. They fought with incredible courage at Chaeronea, but they were overwhelmed by the Macedonians, a testament to Philip's military machine. It's a good reminder that history is about these personal stories. Yes, moments of bravery, sacrifice that we often forget. So back to the big picture. What happened after Philip II's victory at Chaeronea? Chaeronea was a turning point. It marked the end of Greek independence, and the beginning of Macedonian dominance. Most city-states submitted to Philip. Really? So they just gave up. Well, they formed the League of Corinth, a Macedonian-led alliance. So it set the stage for Alexander's conquests. Precisely. But not everyone bowed down. I better know who you're talking about. The Spartans? Yes, the Spartans. Stubborn as ever, they wouldn't join the party that easily. When Philip II threatened them, you know what they say. Oh, I love this story. What do they say? One word. If. Classic Spartan brevity makes you wonder what if they had resisted. It's a good question. Sparta's military was still strong. They could have changed things. Maybe delayed Macedonian control? Who knows? History is full of these what-ifs. It is. But while Sparta stayed independent, others had to deal with Macedonian rule. You mentioned a tragic figure, Isocrates. Oh yes, Isocrates, the Athenian orator. He actually supported Philip II. He did. Fascinating, isn't it? So what was his story? Well, Isocrates, he saw the Greeks constantly fighting amongst themselves, right, always at each other's throats. And he thought they needed a strong leader, someone to unite them. Exactly. He saw Philip II as that leader. So like a benevolent dictator. You could say that. He even read a letter to Philip II. What, really? What'd he say? He urged him to treat the Greeks well, but also to use force against those he saw as barbarians. He wanted Philip to lead Greece to a new golden age. That was his hope. But I'm guessing it didn't quite work out that way. Now, it didn't ever. When Athens was forced to submit to Philip, Isocrates was devastated. Oh no. He felt betrayed. He died shortly after. Oh whoa. That's so sad. Some say he died from a hunger strike. He couldn't bear to see his vision crumble. It's a reminder that the road to power, even with good intentions, is rarely straightforward. And speaking of, Philip II's reign ended rather abruptly. Oh, how so? An assassination. An assassination at his daughter's wedding, no less. Allow, that's a twist. So who did it? And why? That's the mystery. The motives of his assassin, Pausanias, are unclear, so we get a murder mystery on our hands. Some say it was revenge. Others say conspiracy. The truth is lost to history. This sudden change in power must have caused chaos. It utterly did. Cities that had been under Philip's control saw a chance to rebel. They wanted their freedom back. They were ready to fight for it again, but they didn't expect Alexander. Yes, Alexander, waiting in the wings. They underestimated him. Alexander was ready to take his father's place. Oh, absolutely. Despite his youth, he was already a strong leader, schooled in warfare and politics. No time wasted, right into action, crushed those rebellions, showing everyone who was in charge. So he was making a statement. Definitely don't even think about challenging me. Exactly. Ambition, just like his father. But there's this story, this encounter, between Alexander and Diogenes the Cynic. It's fascinating. Diogenes, the philosopher living in a barrel. That's the one rejecting possessions, social norms, everything. What a contrast, Alexander at the height of power. I know, it's amazing, right? Meeting this guy who couldn't care less about any of it. A clash of worldviews. Okay, I have to know. What happened? So picture this, Alexander, probably with his whole entourage, approaches this barrel where Diogenes is just hanging out. And Alexander, young and bold, asks him, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Wow. The most powerful man in Greece, offering a favor to a guy in a barrel. It's almost unbelievable. What did Diogenes say? Did he ask for riches? Alice. Nope. Diogenes, classic cynic, simply says, "Yes, you can step aside, you're blocking my son." He told Alexander to get out of his light. I love it. It's like he's saying, your power means nothing to me. Amazing. And Alexander, what did he do? He wasn't even offended. Some accounts say he admired Diogenes. Interesting. He even said, "If I weren't Alexander, I would be Diogenes." Well, recognizing a simpler life, even as he's building an empire. It's quite a thought. But of course, his path was set. Persia was next. The Persian Empire, a huge pride, a target for generations. And this is where Alexander's genius shines. For our listeners who love strategy, break it down for us. He inherited a great army, but Alexander went further, improved on it, adapted and refined the tactics, understood the battlefield, so taking his father's work even further. Exactly. The Macedonian phalanx was still key, right? The wall is speared. But he also used cavalry charges, archers, light infantry, made it dynamic, a multifaceted fighting force. You could say that he was a master of using the terrain, flanking, exploiting weaknesses. Okay, this is where specific battles help us understand. Absolutely. Two battles stand out. Issus, 333 BC, Issus, and Gaugamela, 331 BC, both showcasing Alexander's brilliance. So let's start with Issus. What happened there? Alexander fought Darius III, the Persian king, in a narrow valley. No valley, you'd think that favors the defender. You think so? Less room to maneuver, makes sense. But Alexander used it to his advantage. Deployed his forces strategically, holding the center with the phalanx, flanking with cavalry, caught the Persians off guard, completely exploited those weaknesses, decisive victory, and Darius fled for his life. Alexander's reputation grew. So Issus shows his adaptability, turning a tough situation around. Exactly. And then there's Gaugamela, the final showdown with Darius. This one is legendary. On a vast plain, perfect for the Persians, larger army, chariots. Oh, so now they have the advantage. You'd think so. But Alexander, he feigned a retreat. What a trick. Lured the Persian cavalry out, created a gap. Clever. Then a devastating cavalry charge right into the heart of their army, led by Alexander himself at that. Of course, routing them completely. Another stunning victory. So even with the odds against him, his tactics and leadership prevailed. It wasn't just force, it was intelligence, timing. And these battles weren't just about territory. It was about dismantling an empire. The Persian Empire, centuries old, crumbled before Alexander. And his ambition didn't stop there. He pushed east. further and further, conquering huge amounts of land, crossing into India. Incredible, all in such a short time. It is, but even Alexander had limits, logistics, harsh environment. Right, reality sets in. And his army, tired from years of fighting, they couldn't go on forever. Even Alexander the Great had to face reality. But let's not forget the impact of his conquests. Oh, absolutely, not just the map, but Greek culture and ideas spread everywhere. A new era, cultural exchange, knowledge spreading, a single person changing the world. It's amazing to think about how these events still echo today. Philip II revolutionizing warfare, Alexander's empire. It really makes you think. It does, doesn't it? History is all connected, and for those of us who love military history, yeah, it's not just the battles, it's the impact they had, the long-term consequences, absolutely. So let's put on our historian hat. Sai, let's do it. What can we learn from Philip II and Alexander that still matters today? Well, one thing that stands out, adaptability. Both were masters of adaptability, adjusting their tactics to the situation, terrain, the enemy, but not just brute force. No, strategy, deception, understanding the opponent. Makes sense. It's not just about having the biggest army. Exactly. And that leads to another point, logistics. Logistics. The unsung hero of warfare. Philip II, he revolutionized it, keeping his army supplied, mobile, essential for long campaigns. Absolutely. It's like that saying, an army marches on its stomach. Very true. Without supplies, even the best army can't function. Right, and it's just as important today. Modern militaries know this. It's the backbone of any successful operation and is more than just food and weapons. It's communication, intelligence, keeping morale up, a whole complex system that requires planning and skill, and then of course, leadership. Oh yes, leadership. Both Philip and Alexander were inspiring figures. Charismatic leaders motivating their troops, leading from the front. They shared in the hardships, took risks. It wasn't just about giving orders, it was about setting an example, showing courage, making tough decisions. And these lessons, they go beyond the battlefield. Applicable to other areas of life. Absolutely, in business, politics, even personal life. Adapting, planning, leading effectively. These skills are timeless. Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up our deep dive into ancient Greece, yeah, I think it's clear that Philip II and Alexander, they were more than just conquerors. They're innovators, and their influence, well, we still feel it today. It's fascinating to imagine, what if things had gone differently? Oh, those what-ifs always get you thinking. What if Philip hadn't been assassinated? What if Sparta had joined the fight? It's a great way to explore history, to think critically about choices, about the forces that shaped the world. So, for our listeners, something to ponder. How would Europe be different if history had taken another turn? It's a good question to think about. The past may be gone, but its impact is still felt today. Thanks for joining us on this journey through ancient Greece. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.